Gareth Wiltshire and Carl Piscopi, nice. From the University of Bath.
Okay, so thank you everyone for staying. Appreciate this is the last session and a long day, and we've had such good presentations. It's tough to follow. So I am Gareth, and this is
Carl.
We haven't practiced that bit. This is a presentation called "Showing Off My New Lungs." It's about the experiences of people who've had organ transplants, which I think is a really amazing, crazy experience to think about. People who are wandering around with other people's organs inside of them, and they owe their lives to these people who've donated. Maybe a new thing for people, so I'm going to ask you to we'll just begin this presentation by asking you to use your imaginations for a moment to give you maybe a taste of their sort of experiences and where they're coming from. So imagine you're going to the doctors, so next week maybe you're feeling tired and lethargic, not able to do the exercise that you are used to doing. Imagine getting test results back from the doctor saying that your kidney function is at 40% and declining. Imagine being plugged into a machine for 3 hours a day and watching your own blood being pumped outside of your body, filtered and then pumped back in. Imagine being told you need an organ transplant within the next 12 months or you will die. Imagine that your family members had the tests to be a donor, but they aren't a match for you, so you have to wait for a deceased donor. Then in 9 months, imagine receiving a phone call informing you that there's an opportunity to have surgery later that day. Imagine waking up in hospital with new scars, but with new energy. Imagine starting to exercise again. Imagine taking your pills every day, wanting to live a healthy lifestyle, and hoping that your new kidney will last. You don't want to get sick again. So, transplantation is a hugely successful medical intervention, offering a lifeline to some 120,000 people each year worldwide. We've been doing it for a few decades, but it's important to remember that transplantation is not a cure for most people. Many will need multiple transplants over their lifetime, and every transplantee needs immunosuppressive drugs. They need to have hospital checkups, and they're at risk for a number of other illnesses throughout their lifetime. So because of this, there's been a shift in focus in recent years to increasing the length of the transplanted organs, how long it can last for. And part of this includes living healthy lifestyles and including physical activity. So this is where we come in. This is where I think this community could be potentially quite helpful. So because of that, there are a number of interventions that exist trying to promote physical activity, trying to get transplant recipients more active, more often. But little research has been carried out, hardly any research at all really, in the experience of sport and exercise. What's it like doing these activities in the context of what we think is a very complex biopsychosocial experience? So we set out to capture the experiences of these people and to explore the impact it might have on their health and well-being beyond its biomedical effects. So what we did is we did face-to-face and telephone interviews with an international group of 13 transplant recipients. They're from England, Australia, Northern Ireland, Wales, New Zealand and South Africa. And they'd all engaged in sport and exercise. A lot of them had also done what's called a national transplant games, so events organised specifically for transplant recipients, and some of them world transplant games as well. Participants were aged between 24 and 55, so reasonable range, 7 male, 6 female, and they'd received kidney, liver, heart, lung transplants. So what we did was with the data set, we utilised interpretive phenomenological analysis. We examined the transcript with this. Lots of debate about this conference. Feels like a weekend sometimes, doesn't it? So this was largely because we're kind of focusing on the outcome and targeting particular journals and targeting clinical health psychologists, to be honest. We also really thought it was useful to get out that lived body experience, the thing that we were interested in, having this body inside your new body. So analysis was performed independently by 2 experienced qualitative researchers. These are the first and second authors, before being combined and agreed upon. Yeah, feel free to laugh. I had a chuckle when I was putting this together. So, yeah. The analysis was then shared with a summary document and discussion with two other critical friends, and these are the third and fourth authors. Again, came to a different agreement. Then shared with the participants in a final summary document, and they didn't object to any of our interpretations. We came up with these three different themes that we'll talk about today. I'll do the first two, then Carl will do the last one. So, embodying health and self-care is the first one. So physical activity was experienced as a means of self-care, often with reference to one's transplanted organ, which I thought was quite interesting. So people would say, so I do think I am most of the time very conscious of trying to look after myself, keeping the best possible health and fitness. Okay, so this fitness thing is probably similar to ordinary populations as well, so they definitely knew it was important. As a health-enhancing practice, physical activity allowed patients to actively enact and embody self-care with a sense of duty and gratitude, interestingly, towards one's donor and donor family. So I'm always conscious I've got somebody else's organ in me, and they always say, oh, it's ridiculous, but I am. I always give it a little tap, like, are you okay in there? Have I been good to you today? Have I eaten the right food to you today? You know, I've got a little conversation. I know it's mad. Other people said, I think where you have to start reflecting back is on the fact that somebody has donated these organs, and because of that person, you're alive, so you owe it to them a little bit in that way. So participants framed physical activity as a way of working on their transplanted organ as an object, but also sometimes describe it as more holistically. So a couple of different examples here. Jack said, you can think of it as part of you all you want, but ultimately this is something that I'm trying to keep going as long as possible. Then perhaps I don't think of myself in a weird way. I think of myself as I'm up here, and these are just bits that I control. Alternatively, more holistically, Susan said, I've accepted it so quickly, my body as a whole. Because of this, my extra kidney, I can now feel my head hurts, my fingers are cold, so it's not just the kidney, it's my whole body. Because of this whole, I need to think of it in a whole way, because this whole thing wouldn't be here if it wasn't for this one kidney. So in this way, embodying health and self-care was simultaneously about caring for your organ, caring for yourself, but also caring for others around you, including the donor. People were conscious of the donor. The next theme was survivorship and the new transplanted self. So participants' experiences of sport and exercise involved navigating new embodied identities associated with their new transplanted self. So these were around narratives of survivorship and self-improvement, and they were described in the context of doing sport and exercise. So it was definitely something that benefited me. I wanted to see what I could do. I wanted to see what was achievable post-transplant, what this new me could do. So hence, sport and exercise was part of a new body project for people, exploring new capabilities, rediscovering prior capabilities, and testing out physical limitations. This was a journey of uncertainty for many people. And physical activity was a means of illuminating participants' state of health and progress. So Neil was a lung transplantee. I felt that golf is good. I know he wanted to do golf, but wouldn't it be amazing if I could do something more cardiovascular? So I thought, why don't I join an athletics club and see where that takes me? The idea that he really wanted to test out his new lungs, I thought was really interesting. So for participants in our study who were previously active, this was a return to that self, back to what they used to be able to do. And that was common for quite a few people. The tangible, physical sense of self-improvement was also celebratory in the context of being in transplantation. So competitive sport, in addition to exercise per se, so that sporting element for some people, fueled this narrative with measurable moments of achievement. So it was a real celebration. Look at this, I've made it, I'm alive, and I can do 3 kilometres. With all the family there who've been around me and been very close. It was very special.
Yeah, so the third theme was engaging with social networks, and a significant aspect of the physical activity experience was the opportunity to engage with and foster these social networks. And participants reported that engaging with other transplantees was a powerful experience in the context of what could be a quite uncommon, traumatic and isolating experience that you alluded to in your presentation. And various transplant games events were described as meeting places where participants form new relationships and help form group memberships. And taking part in the transplant games facilitated engagement with affective communities, played a role in shaping knowledge and shaping the illness expectations. And we found this in support of Vasilev's framework, which was applied to chronic illness management. And I'm going to talk through these things with you now. So affective communities, these communities distinguished by collective feelings and emotion. The emotional work carried out between patients within these communities, especially concerning their health. So one participant, nowhere else would you get the support you get from the World Transplant Games, because no one else is going to know exactly what you are going through except for those people. In that specific event, actually for me, the big thing is the emotional support that you get from talking to those people. To me, that is a very, very big thing as well. Another participant, I think meeting people that have been through what you have been through, like it's all good and well speaking to your family, been through what you've been, but these have actually experienced it. And we kind of got the sense that these participants viewed the games as a unique opportunity to gain support from others, but also those people had experienced similar illnesses, and this was a very important something participants felt that their existing network of close ties, their family, just couldn't offer in the same way. So the second sub-theme was shaping knowledge, and transplant recipients at the Games drew on the experiences of others to form their own health behaviours, and these were exchanges of information regarding the medication that Gareth alluded to earlier, the symptoms, and also their self-care management strategies. So we can hear a couple of participants here. Yeah, it is something that I didn't expect to get from the Transplant Games. I knew that it would be a good opportunity to, I guess, learn from the greater experience and learn from maybe some of the good things that people have done and probably some of the mistakes that people have made. You could learn a bit about how to manage your condition, perhaps. And we got the sense that this was similar across all these participants. Another one talked about going through a different age and having the opportunity to talk to similar individuals of that age, and it saw it as insightful and valuable information that they just couldn't get from their GP. Now, knowledge share and health transplant literacy, what individuals got from the Games was the opportunity to share their experiences with others that have been through similar ones, to learn from others' experiences and learn from their success, failures, and bad and good outcomes. So the final sub-theme out of engaging with social networks was this idea of shaping illness expectations. And participants experienced the good health of others, often older patients, and experienced the ill health and death of others as well. And this enabled participants to reflect on their own illness expectations and sense of mortality, but also provided them with hope and reassurance at times and served as a reminder of the vulnerability that they were faced at these times. So I'll let you read that in your own time, but one of the key points was just that you can be reassured more if it is something that maybe someone else has been through the same situation as yourself, really drawing on that commonality. So just to sum up with this section, reflecting on illness and mortality was accepted as a reality and quite positively, yet some participants preferred not to dwell on it. Participants took part in the Transplant Games and physical activity to provide an opportunity to reflect on their illnesses. This was thought as part of a community of patients with similar experiences. Being reminded of illness necessarily involved accepting it and coming to terms with mortality. And in this way, engaging with these social networks through participating in the Games was about shaping knowledge, learning from others' experiences to enable reflection on own health and illness. And this is also an opportunity to gain support, emotional, without the sympathy, a shared commonality to reduce the traumatic and isolating illness experience.
So interesting experience. It's much more than just doing physical activity, just doing exercise, loads of things going on. We're still trying to work out and make sense of it and how and what the implications are, but we think that it could potentially play an important role in illness health management going forward. New transplant recipients who might want to, thinking about their future, might learn from this understanding it could be a complex experience doing physical activity. Clinical health psychologists might think about how exploiting those social networks and what you can do with them. And consultants maybe might want to think about offering words of caution, but that knowledge transfer is something which is potentially problematic when people share anecdotal evidence about what this works for different people. Sometimes positive, sometimes difficult. So that's the end of the presentation, but I'm just going to, the final slide is just as a thank you to the participants, is to, and out of respect for their time, is to ask you to consider signing up to organ donation registers where you can. This is the UK one, this is the British Columbia one, and remember to also discuss your decision with your loved ones as well. Thank you very much.